Eggwars is the first variation of Bedwars that was made on Minecraft. Released with the Bedrock series on April 25th, 2018, this game has had a variety of people take Eggwars to its limit. With hundreds of different runners over the years and thousands of runs submitted through its many categories, Eggwars has grown to a much bigger game than CubeCraft would have ever imagined. But, how fast can it really go? With so many people who have attempted to play Eggwars as fast as possible, it takes immense skill to say that you held a world record. This is the story of how these few players have pushed Eggwars past anything anyone would ever imagine. This is the history of Eggwars world records. Firstly, the records of CubeCraft on Java Edition are very slim and far apart. These records aren't documented correctly and are almost impossible to find. There was also a version switch that Java had to go through, which separates these records even more. This is why I'll be focusing on the Bedrock side of Eggwars instead of Java. This means that jump bridging and all other features of Bedrock Eggwars, like the shops and different kits, will be present. Also, even though Bedrock had Eggwars since 2018, the speedrun community only really started runs in early 2020. These are the runs that have been clearly documented as a speedrun and are the runs that have real video proof. These are the runs that I count as the world records, as anyone else playing before this mostly played on phone with no recorded proof. This also means that old casual playthroughs or other videos that aren't supposed to be a speedrun will not be counted. So, to start off, we have to go back to the first recorded speedrun on Eggwars solos from Nixern27. This record was a 4-minute and 15-second time, done on the 2nd of May, 2020. This run was definitely not optimized, as Nixern took a full 50 seconds to get off the start island. His strategy at the time was to get a sword, a pickaxe, blocks, and 5 gaps, which takes a really long time to get, especially with the old generator starting only after you fall. This was an extremely safe way of playing and ensured that he wouldn't die throughout most of the game. Even with all of this, he still got pretty lucky on how the others played. This run was okay for a first run. It had many small mistakes that he took a lot more time than he should have, and the game started with only one person leaving, which is not optimal. This run still had a lot to improve, and thankfully the next person to improve on the record would be GH Spaghetti. GH Spaghetti's run would not be fully documented, as his recording stopped working a while ago. This run was still very good and beat the 4-minute time by almost a minute, getting a 3-minute and 36-second time. This run was still nowhere near perfect and was done on normal mode instead of overpowered. This meant that he had to wait longer for iron and tools, and couldn't do as much damage to other players, making his run much slower. Since it was done on normal, the record would quickly be beaten 6 days later by Zoinks_Scoops. Zoinks got the first verified 2-minute time, getting a 2-minute 53-second time. Zoinks had figured out that the best map to run on is golf. This was a strategy made by GH Spaghetti and showed that golf had the fastest rushes out of all maps in solos. It has 2 iron generators, meaning more blocks, and has much closer islands compared to Nixern's run on desert. On golf, you can get a full rush from one island to another with only 10 blocks if you do it correctly. Zoinks knew that this map was fast, and so he would reset until he found it. When his run started, one person left, giving Zoinks a bit of an easier run, just like Nixern. After he got his iron, instead of buying gaps and playing it safe, Zoinks showed the first signs of optimization. He bought 30 blocks, armor, a sword, a pick, and some food, and off he went. Zoinks' first kill was quick and easy without them running or fighting back. After buying more blocks, he rushed the next few teams. With each team being extremely easy to kill, he was starting to realize how fast this run really was. Many other teams died to other players or were really easy to kill, and after 2 minutes, only 3 people were left. So he got to work killing the rest of the teams. By the time he killed one of them, there was one person who he didn't know where he was, and it was looking like another failed run. But then, with a stroke of luck, they left the game and the first sub 3 was completed. This was another extremely good run and was much more optimized, with him getting only about half the kills in the game. This run did look like it would take a crazy run to beat, everything going seemingly perfect throughout the run. But then League came in. League beat Zoinks by 6 seconds, and instead of getting a bunch of people to leave this time, he queued a sweat. Toby Two Spades queued his game, and together they took out almost every player in that game, with League getting 5 kills and 5 eggs. Toby's bridge would then cut out at the very end of the run, and League got an easy victory to gain the world record. This run was really good. The chances to get a sweat and for them to die at the very end of the run is almost impossible luck, and so his run stood. For months, nobody could beat his record. Even after the new knockback making runs easier, nobody could reach the insane luck that League got. Then, almost a whole year later, Broski got a 2-minute and 22-second run. This run was legendary. After over a year of trying, somebody had finally beat it. Broski's run was finally better than League's. His start was 2 times faster than League's, getting off his start island in only 6 seconds. Broski got the builder kit and rushed with only 1 iron, getting only a stone pickaxe and rushing through everyone. The new knockback made it much easier for him to kill people, and as he kept going through the run, the more and more people died to his insane strategy. He killed 6 out of 12 teams and could have gotten much faster if he had just killed Gray before they ran away. Even with this bad luck at the end, it was still a new world record, and everyone thought it would stand for a while. But only 2 days later, this happened. Alexis beat the world record. This was crazy. After over a year, 2 people beat the world record in 3 days. Alexis had an absolutely crazy run, but it was set to private later so the run cannot be analyzed. This run set a new goal, the 1-minute run. This run was only 13 seconds off a 1-minute run, and the community knew it would be possible. You would need some crazy luck, but it could be possible, and so everyone started grinding. The next 3 world records got increasingly closer to the sub 2. And finally, on June 9th, 2021, Dialing got this run. Finally, a sub 2-minute run. This run was the first run that actually seemed unbeatable. Dialing, with the new knockback, queued another really good speedrunner, Owlbat. They both killed each side of the map, and when there was one person left, Owlbat missed his jump, and Dialing got a new world record. A 1-minute and 53-second run. Dialing had done it. He had gotten the sub 2 minute, and not only that, he beat it by 7 seconds. The community was shocked. Dialing's gameplay was a step above everyone else, and his luck was even better. After he got this record, most of the community just stopped grinding. Everyone but top leaderboard players couldn't compete with the luck, and so Dialing's run stood. After a year had gone by, people had finally started speedrunning again. There was a new Eggwars update that added a new map and new generators that worked way better than before, getting much easier games. This meant that people could really start grinding, and so they did. Then, over a year after Dialing's run, Angry Pickle, who had the world record for Skywars and survival games solo, finally beat it. This run was crazy. Somebody had finally beaten Dialing's world record. Angry got 3 people to leave at the start, and had players that knew what they were doing and so could kill other people. This got him a crazy time of 1:42, beating Dialing's impossible run by 11 seconds, and nobody could believe it. But then, even with this insane time, this new map, new strats, and Season 1 getting released, Dragon Sky knew he could beat the world record. 2 months later, he would get a 1:27. In this run, 2 people left, and another 3 people rushed each other. The last person was right next to him once it was a 1v1, and he could easily finish them off and claim a super good final run of Eggwars solos. These runs were full of crazy strategies and immense luck, and these people should be praised for how much they've taken the record down. But there is another category that requires even more luck than solos, even more skill, and even crazier strategies. Let's move on to the most known category of them all, Eggwars Duos. Eggwars Duos is definitely the most competitive category in all of Eggwars, and the world record has been cut down so much over the past 2 years. But to truly appreciate how much this category has been improved, we have to go all the way back to the start of 2020, when Related Noobs and Nimbleaunt got the first recorded speedrun of Teams of 2. This run clocked in at a time of 2:23, but sadly the run was privated later, so the strategy cannot be found. The next two records were both by We Up in This House and Toby Two Spades, getting a time of 2:15 and then a time of 2:04. These records were also recorded, but there is still no video proof of these today, as Xbox deletes the footage by these records. The first recorded run that is still around today was performed on the 17th of April, 2020 by Related and Nimbleaunt. Related, Toby Two Spades, and We Up in This House have found out that the best map for speedrunning was Modern, and so every speedrun from this time period will be played on Modern. The actual strategy for this speedrun was not that great. Related got 20 blocks from Nimbleaunt and rushed with armor, a pickaxe, blocks, and a sword. Nimble also got 30 blocks, a sword, armor, and a pickaxe to rush his base to the right, as he didn't rush with Related. After he killed Purple, he got a stack of blocks, food, and then rushed middle. He then killed Orange, getting a stack of blocks to kill the last team. This team did get rushed by his teammate's second rush, Pink, and so he didn't have to go all the way to get the egg, which saved some time. This run did also have some bad luck though. After Light Blue's egg was destroyed, Related had to chase down the remaining Light Blue, and Nimbleaunt had to chase down the Pink, costing them lots of time. They still did kill him and could finish the game with a new world record. This run seemed like it could definitely be improved, and on the same day, Toby and We Up in This House beat the world record by only 1 second. The sub 2 minute barrier was agonizingly close, and the two teams kept playing to be the first person to break this time. Then Related and our new player, Master KDU, did it. They got a 151, but instead of being on Modern, it was on a seasonal spring map. This map had 8 teams instead of the 6 on Modern, and so Related and Master had to get 7 eggs to win the game. It looked like it wasn't even supposed to be a real speedrun, and so this showed to everyone that the world record was totally nowhere near optimized. Then, the exact same day, Dragon Knight 635 and Silk Hyper Fox got another new record of 147. This record is now privated, so we cannot see the exact strategies, but what everyone did know is that these two were on mobile. This meant that they lost a lot of time because they couldn't bridge nearly as fast as computer, being at least 2 times slower on the bridge and being harder to knock people off when you're on mobile. This again told the community that the record had a lot of space to improve, and so more people grinded. Related Noobs and GH Spaghetti got a time of 141.174, a new record set on the 23rd of April 2020. On this run, he didn't get armor, he just got a sword, a pick, 20 blocks from GH, and 15 blocks to fully make it to the base. He then got very lucky with another team rushing and one person leaving in the middle of the game. This was another very good run, but could still be improved as Purple and Pink were also not very optimized. As everyone waited for the next world record, nobody would expect what Toby and House did 4 days later. A 128. This time was crazy. A sub 140 and a sub 130, both in the same run. This made people realize how much time could be saved. House actually died at the start of this run. This meant that this run could definitely be improved and everyone knew it. It was just a matter of when. But then, through May, nothing happened. And even through June, there was no new world record. After the absolute insane race that had just happened, how had nobody beaten it yet? Well, people had been trying, but the crazy skill and luck needed for this world record was just too much. And as July was going by, many people started to lose hope. But then, Related came back with real JCG and would drop a new world record of 124.286. Finally, a new world record, and this record showed the community again how good the record could be. In this run, there was 3 people that left, plus some other person rushed an egg. This meant that even though Related through the start of the run and died, him and real JCG could still push through and get the world record. Everyone knew that the record would be broken, but they didn't know if it would just take weeks or months. But the community was absolutely shocked when 1 month later, 2 new faces appeared, Clutch and Sad Street Ken. These two got a crazy lucky run when 2 people left and they got 2 other sweats to join the game. They weren't even trying to go for this record and even talked in chat to the other sweats, wasting lots of time. This record totally wasn't optimized, and people's vision of what the record would become was much more than anyone thought before. The record that seemed almost impossible to beat for so long and barely anyone could get was easily broken on accident. Everyone knew that it could be improved, but who would be up to do it? This was a point that almost everyone gave up. Who could beat a time that 2 sweat teams teamed up to get? Even with the talking in chat, it was still a very good run. Well, one team had a different plan. Their names are Angie Plays 4583 and Nightmare 9945. These 2 were newer players who just got into Eggwars, and they knew that they could take this record and lower it. And so, as they learned the strategies, they got a 126, then a 122, and then a 120, putting them only 4 seconds behind Clutch and Sad. But even though there wasn't much progress from the older players, 2 other newer speedrunners named Wasprain and Quiet Moate were on the world record radar also. Wasp was a leaderboard player in the top 10, and Quiet was a new player who found Wasp and started speedrunning together. These 2 had 3 out of the 4 world records on the main leaderboard at the time, having perfect percent, 5 kills, and no kills. This meant that the only thing left for them to do was to get the any percent world record. They had a 219 when the other pair had a 220, and it was a race to see who could beat the world record first. Then, the next day, Angie and Nightmare got a 116, just barely being faster and getting a new world record. By this point, 2 new strats were found, one being that if you vote hardcore when the game is full, people would leave a lot more often because of how annoying hardcore games are. Then, if you would switch back at the last moment to overpowered, you would have much less people to deal with on average. Another strat that was found by GH Spaghetti and Real JCG with the new addition of 15 block builder kit. You could now rush with 1 iron instead of 6, giving 3 blocks to your teammate and getting 27 blocks to rush your base. And with this new record from Angie and Nightmare, Quiet and Wasp needed a way to get back on par with the 2 giants. And so on one of their grinding streams, Quiet and Wasp did the absolutely unthinkable. A 109. In this run, another team rushed and so allowed Quiet and Wasp to easily kill everyone and finish the game off with a new world record. Now everyone was getting ready for another race. With Angie and Nightmare off first place, they were determined to get the world record back, and on the 12th of December 2020, they got another world record, getting a 108. Though with this new strategy, on the 29th of December, they also got a 104. These records were getting increasingly closer to the sub 1 minute barrier, but who would actually beat it? Would it be Wasp and Quiet, who have been speedrunning for a while, being really high on leaderboard? Or would it be Nightmare and Angie, who grinds for hours a day? Well, we wouldn't have to wait long for the answer, because only a day after the 104, Nightmare and a new partner named Don't Let Me Die got this fateful run. 59-second time. There was 4 people that left at the start, leaving Nightmare and Don't Let Me Die to kill only 3 teams. This meant that they could barely squeeze out the 59-second time, but even though this record was a new second barrier, there was many people saying that it shouldn't count due to them spamming chat telling the people to leave. And after the mods talked it over, they came to the decision that voting hardcore was allowed, but spamming chat to tell people to leave won't be allowed. This meant that the last 3 world records were lost, bringing the time back to a 109 by Quiet and Wasp. But now that the sub-minute had been proven possible, Quiet, Wasp, Nightmare, and Angie all started to grind to get that record back to where it was. And only a few days later, again after the rule change, with a new knockback system in place, Nightmare and Angie got a 101, 2 seconds off the 59-second. This run was amazing, but still, nobody felt satisfied until the 59-second run was pulled off. And thankfully, Wasp and Quiet finally pulled through and got a 59-second time. This was it, what all the grinding and strategy hunting was for, and with Angie not being able to play with Nightmare anymore, it seemed like this record was here to stay. But with Angie gone, Nightmare still wasn't giving up and started playing with Saf 911. They got many games, but still no world record. The 59-second time was holding up. But then finally, on the 23rd of February, Nightmare and Saf got on a good run. With only 1 team leaving, Nightmare and Saf played better than they ever had before and beat the record by only 2 seconds. This showed that there was still time to save. Nightmare only had 2 people leave, but what if more left? The max amount of people that can leave according to the rules is 6, leaving 50% of the game left. So, what would happen if somebody got that run? With perfect teams, it seemed like a sub 50-second time would easily be possible. And so they grinded, and less than 2 weeks later, on a break, Angie came back for the one last run. This run was crazy. 6 people left the game and only 2 teams were left to kill. There was an easy rush to pink, but a cross map to orange to finish the game. This record was going to stay for a while, and it did, for a month. But this time it wasn't Wasp or Quiet, not even Nightmare or any of the other people he is grinding with. This time it was Senzi, 1022, and Sir Sevenson. This duo had been grinding for a while, and once map selection was finally released, making getting modern much easier, they finally got the world record, and got a 46.267. In this run, 6 people left, making there be 3 teams, Pink, Orange, and Red. Pink and Red only had 1 player and Orange had 2. This was insanity. How would anyone compete with that strong of a world record? The only thing that would make this run better is with the 27 block strat that they didn't use. So, demotivated, everyone stopped grinding. Nobody thought they could really beat it, except for 2 people, Raisin for a Brain, and of course, Nightmare. And as they kept grinding, they got better and better runs, but they still couldn't get the right run. The crazy luck to finally get 6 people to leave is almost impossible to find. But finally, after almost 2 months of non-stop grinding and over 1,000 attempts at the world record, on July 23rd, 2021, Raisin and Nightmare got this fateful run. A 37,600. They had done it. They had took everything about Senzi's run and improved it. They did the 27 block strat. They only got 2 teams being Red and Orange, and they had the other teams fully cooperate with them. How could this run ever be improved? The only possible time save that people were looking at is that instead of being Red and Orange, it would be Orange and Pink. But other than that, it looked absolutely perfect. And so it stood, with the leaderboard players giving up on the world record and only really going for wins and consistency, and the new world record being such an impossible time to beat, nobody beat it. Weeks went by, months went by without a run being close to the world record. But then, finally, there was a spark of hope. On December 13th, CubeCraft released a new Eggwars update, adding 3 big features. There was a new map for duos called Cyber City. This map was much faster than the old modern map that has been used forever as the fastest map. There was also Favorite Shop added, a new feature allowing you to add anything you want at the very top of your shop. This saved lots of time over the old strategy of switching between. Lastly, instead of the generator starting at the start of the game, it started when there was 10 seconds left, meaning that you could easily get 25 iron at the very start of the game. These 3 things made everyone come back to speedrunning. But still, even with all of these crazy new speedrunning changes, nobody could touch the world record. It still stood, and after a full year of it being on top, a few new speedrunners took it upon themselves to finally beat this long-standing world record. Let me introduce you to A41Y and L54Q. After A41Y rushed with only 15 blocks forward, L54Q had some time lost with Pink, rushing back to their base and getting the egg. But even with this, the time was 38 seconds. After a retime, the community found out that they actually got it by only 0.1 seconds. It had finally happened, and the speedrun community was shocked. After so long of Nightmare and Raisin being on top, somebody actually beat it. This finally opened the floodgates, as now since Season 1 had just come out, adding a leaderboard that would never change after the season was completed, everyone was grinding. And with a new spark of hope, after a month since A41Y's world record, on the 28th of September 2022, 2 other new speedrunners, Reality and the Swordman, got a new world record. This time, beating it by 2 seconds. This pushed even more people to grind speedruns, and with the new strategies created by ALC and other speedrunners, only a few days later, ALC and IA1E0 pulled off a run that seemed to just barely miss it. There were 3 teams left to kill and only 5 people left. So would it actually be a record? Well, they would push through and they would get it. This category, thanks to the new map, had a lot more potential than anyone else had previously thought. And with the record going back up to having 3 teams, it was only a matter of time before somebody got lucky enough to beat it. And I1E0 with new teammate Clovate got on a run also with 3 teams, but this time they would go even faster. 34.317. Another new world record only 4 days after ALC's run being on top. Then, motivated by the Season 1 leaderboard, 2 other newer speedrunners came, Biden is King 7778 and Solo 1290. After a few weeks of time since the last record, with 3 teams it was looking to be just another sub 40. But Yellow rushed Pink, making Soul's route much easier and being able to kill the team, and with Biden rushing off Red, the time was revealed. 32 seconds. And when it was retimed, it came out to be a 32.183. But A41Y and L54Q did not forget about the world record, and throughout this time had been grinding for that one run. And only 4 days after Biden and Soul's record, they got a run that looked even faster than the record. All they had to do was rush Pink and Yellow, and they easily did just that. With Yellow again rushing Pink, they could kill both of them at the same time and finish the run with a 31-second time. Now the community was getting extremely close to a new barrier, sub 30, and with a slightly better run, technically somebody could do it. Only 3 days after the run from A41Y, Biden and Soul came back and got a new world record. But instead of the map being on Cyber City, it was done on the old friend of Teams of 2, Modern. With 2 teams left in the game and the new generators making Soul get a much faster rush, they finished off the run with a time of 30.317, agonizingly close to a new record, and with Modern proven to be slower, the next record would have to be sub 30. Well, on November 5th, Raisin and our new player, Harrison, would get a record on Cyber, this time a 30.050. This record was so close, only 0.1 seconds off from finally getting that sub 30. But it wasn't meant to be. And sadly, that is where the record stands now. With everyone basically stopping speedrunning thanks to the incredible luck needed, and teams of 2 getting very boring. Everyone just has to wait and see what will happen next. With Eggwars duos finally out of the way, let's move on to a category that most people know of, but not really many have played. Teams of 4. Teams of 4 Eggwars is a game mode that is much more strategy intense than duos, and with 4 people, many new and unique strategies have come from this run. So again, let's start off with the earliest runs back in 2020. Even back in 2020, a lot of strategies had already been created, as Teams of 4 was extremely popular. The original strategy was created by GH Spaghetti on the map Food. Food has 3 iron gens and close rushes, so people instinctively went towards it. Every person would get Builder and throw the 10 blocks from the kit to somebody who rushed mid, then the other 3 would get a pickaxe, a sword, armor, and 30 blocks to rush the 3 bases. Then the first mid rusher would go back to the base with the iron gen at middle and kill anyone else who got to mid. The first record was a 114 by Toby2Spades, GH Spaghetti, It's Keddy Keith, and We Up in This House. This record is now deleted for the same reason as the duos records, the Xbox deleting the footage after a certain amount of time. Then we got the first surviving run by Dark Ninja _27, Algara 16, and Lojo and Allies God 38. They got a 113.383. In this run, they got both perfect percent, meaning all kills and all eggs, and any percent, which is an extremely hard thing to do and has only been done by 2 other runners in duos. Though this run still did have a lot of mistakes. The strategy that GH Spaghetti made was still not really known, and so they didn't get only 30 blocks and instead picked a sword, food, 60 blocks, and armor to rush their bases. This slowed down their run by a lot, having to get iron, but they still managed to get a better time than Toby's team. Then, 4 other new players, Mr. Sturdy, Super Penguin 719, Goody and Nathan, and Limber Garlic 185 would snag the world record from them, getting a 107.667. This run was a lot better than the 113, but still had many mistakes. Sadly, this record is private, so we cannot see the mistakes they did exactly. At this point, people in the community were starting to look towards the minute barrier. It didn't seem that hard, and it was only 7 seconds away. And so, Darkstray, Toby2Spades, GH Spaghetti, and XRG Mortality got together on November 2nd and showed everyone their strategy. A 101.600, only 2 seconds away from breaking the sub-minute barrier. It was the first record with a more refined strategy, and since Teams of 2 was getting a lot more attention at this point, the records started slowing down. When 2020 had finished, it had been 2 months without a new world record, and with a lot of new players joining thanks to COVID, it was only a matter of time before someone else would get a record. Then, a new update came out, and there was now a new map, Mangrove. And so, on January 20th, 2021, with a new map on their side, Shushin CN, Mrs. Penguin, X Cactus, and Mr. Penguin started the new generation of Teams of 4 speedrunning. A 54-second run. Absolutely annihilating the old world record and relieving the community of the sub-minute pressure. But then again, the records stopped. Nobody cared about the record on Teams of 4, and since this record was extremely fast for the time, everyone left it alone. As February went by, a few dedicated runners had started thinking about taking the record from that team. And with how easy it seemed to beat, Adam the Apple 926, That One Turtle 2, Nash the Basher, and Hygiene Blair started up a run that was looking very good. Another one of the teams had left, incorporating the hardcore strategy from the Teams of 2 game mode to entice people to leave. And so, with an amazing game on their side, and a few mess-ups due to lack of runs,
Wait, no, I fell into the void!
Blair, it's okay.
they got a 51-second run. This time looked amazing, but when you actually took a look at the run, there were so many mess-ups that the time could easily be lowered with the right amount of luck. And so, more people grinded. Through April, May, and June, nobody had enough skill to actually take this record down. But finally, 4 very talented runners, Raisin for a Brain, Nash the Basher, Nightmare 9945, and Toxie came in and created a complex strategy involving throwing your blocks to the person you're rushing with, buying a sword to rush with them, and another person buys 4 picks to throw to each member and rushing that way. And with this new strategy, they released a bombshell that not even they were expecting out of this run. A 38.883, destroying the record and completely discouraging the entire community to run teams of 4 Eggwars. Everyone thought that this was it, the greatest teams of 4 speedrun ever to be accomplished, and it seemed like it was. From what everyone could see, there was no other way that the record could be optimized without having to grind for hundreds of hours getting the perfect run with 2 different teams leaving. And so, everyone agreed that this was it. Nobody kept grinding for the record, and as the months went by, 1 month turned into 6, which turned into an entire year without a new world record. Teams of 4 was officially dead. Or so everyone thought. Just like duos, Eggwars Season 1 had finally released, and many new players started grinding Eggwars again. After a month of grinding for wins, a select few people started wanting to speedrun again. And with strategies from the new generators, these teams started getting faster and faster games. It was only a matter of time before someone finally got the world record. And after a year and 2 months of the category seemingly with the greatest run possible, on September 14th, 2022, Dragon Sky, Mega 6966, Gadir 12s, and Black Hat 1997112 got this run. This run only had 1 team left, and to most, it finally looked impossible to beat. How are you supposed to get luckier than that? This team had lowered the record by 2 seconds, and nobody could think of a way that it would be faster. Maybe if the last player didn't fall into the void and just died to a sword, then it would have been faster. But the chances of that happening would be extremely low. But, proving everyone wrong, on the 30th of December at the end of 2022, ALC 5566, Clovate, I1E0, and Zihaichi got a 33-second time. Now, teams of 4 should have been over, truly dead. But, after grinding for hundreds of hours for the record, having thousands of wins each on teams of 4, R1, XLI, iChars, DV2P, and XHackaz got a time that I believe will kill teams of 4 forever. A 26-second time, and that's where Teams of 4 ends. This time, truly killing the category. Eggwars has been such a big part of CubeCraft, getting it to be where it is in the first place, making old and new runners spend hours grinding for these world records. The times that people here are able to achieve is insane, and with all of that said, that was the history of Eggwars World Records. Thanks for watching.